this level 2 out of 4 threat for excessive rainfall in this yellow. It includes Fort Lauderdale, of course, and that's because they're going to see in the afternoon and evenings some heavy showers and thunderstorms. You can see it's not raining the entire time. This is a time lapse from today, tomorrow, and Friday, because it's again the next 3 days that this threat will continue because of continuous rounds of heavy rain. And some areas are expected to see a widespread 2 to 4 inches, but some places could see more than that, could see a 4 to 6 inch range, or even 6 to 8 inches as well. It just depends on where that heaviest rain actually ends up. So South Florida certainly still going to be seeing that flood threat in more of those urban areas with cars seeing a lot of water on the roads. Then in the west, we do have a flash flood watch. That's actually in Oregon, where we've seen a lot of fires, and it's because of the fires. They have rain now, but they also have more burn scars now as well that could lead to debris flows. So that's an issue there for central and eastern Oregon. Then we have these red flag warnings for Salt Lake City, parts of Nevada as well. That's because they have dry conditions, windy conditions, a lot of wind down in northern Arizona as well, including the Grand Canyon there. 45-mile-per-hour wind gusts possible, and we still have that Garnet fire in California, east of Fresno, that's still giving dense smoke advisories and alerts there for parts of central California and into central Nevada as well. Meanwhile, it's the peak of hurricane logically as well, and you can see that we have a lot going on. We have been very weak in our activity in the Atlantic. In the last 2 weeks, actually, there have been 8 storms in the Atlantic. It is now just under pressure next week, and it's just big swells there.
Again, Jackie, thank you. Coming up, dozens of shipping containers fall off a cargo ship in California. What investigators are now looking into and what they're saying about the cleanup. Only more drivers passing back home to head for their first morning and are distracted at the year.
Tesla in a tow yard in Hollywood on Monday afternoon, following reports of an odor coming from near the vehicle. Police say the car had been at the property for a couple of days, and what police are calling human remains had been placed inside a van. The medical examiner saying those remains belonged to a woman whose body was most severely decomposed. What had been about 5'2", lady blonde hair, wearing a tube top and yellow stock earrings.
The key to this case is identifying the person who was found in the Tesla. How is that person in there to this Tesla? How did it get to this location and what does Zion's Tesla?
20-year-old David's real name is Nathan in New York, known for his life field. A romantic homicide is a among the listeners on Spotify. The recently spoken on success with express myself in this
Thank you. And California investigators are trying to figure out what caused nearly 7 shipping containers to fall off a ship. The incident briefly suspended operations at the busy port of Long Beach. Now port officials say they're bracing for a difficult cleanup. ABC's Trevor Waltz has the latest. Hi, Trevor.
Good morning, Diane. Many of these containers that have fallen are still in a precarious position here. The officials say essentially they started with straps that were holding some containers in place, released, a few of them started to fall, and then it was a cascade of dozens crashing into the port.
Oh, what's going on this side? Take a look at the stunning moment. Dozens of cargo containers go tumbling off a ship in California's port of Long Beach.
Looks like dominoes. It looks like once one portion started to fall, then more fell.
We're still investigating the cause and why the containers fell off the ship. We're just working to stabilize everything.
We've learned the ship, the Mississippi, had just arrived Tuesday morning from China, carrying hundreds of those cargo containers.
Look at how they're cheated right on the edge there. This is the backside of the ship.
The containers piling up in the water, shoes and clothes seen floating on the surface. The port's cargo operations suspended as workers rushed in to keep it contained.
Fireboat, Long Beach fireboat there. I think that's your fireboat using the water pressure to try and push some of those containers back to where they want to keep them before they may sink.
Port officials say no one was hurt, but the cleanup could prove difficult.
One or two would be an accident, just getting a little too fast with the crane. But something like this is probably a major error somewhere.
Diane, these containers were filled with goods for retailers like Walmart, Costco, Amazon. A lot of them are being held in place in the water by buoys. But we know that several of them sank, and it will take a massive undertaking to get them back up to the surface. Diane?
Trevor Waltz, thank you. Coming up, the secret is out. Mom Talk and Mormon wife star Taylor Frankie Paul is the new bachelorette. Will Gans is here to take a look at how she's preparing to hand out those roses.
Did you know you can customize your safety preferences in the Uber app? To do so, go to your account tab anytime or tap the safety shield on the truck, taking control of your rides, easy and all in one place. That's safety simplified. Uber.
Welcome to ABC News Live. Her Secret Lives of Mormon wife star Taylor Frankie Paul is the new bachelorette. Taylor's best known for creating Mom Talk and was at the center of a Mormon swinging scandal before the hit Hulu show started. Now she'll be looking for the new bachelorette, and we will all get to watch it play out. Well, Gans is here to break it all down for her. So, how's the announcement going over, and what's Taylor saying about being the next bachelorette?
This is a first for Bachelor Nation, which this many years and decades and seasons into the show is kind of hard to pull off. This is the first time The Bachelorette will not be contested for someone who will appear on The Bachelor, Bachelor in Paradise, or Golden Bachelor, or anything like that. So she is the star of, and the undisputed star, by the way. There has been some
There was
But Jacqueline Lee, our friend Jacqueline Lee, actually spoke with the Bachelorette to be. Let's take a look at that.
Surreal is the only word I can think of, honestly, because it doesn't feel real yet.
Are there certain characteristics you're looking for?
How you treat people is my number one, down to things of like someone passing by or a neighbor or your server. Another big one is like, does he have to be Mormon? And the answer is no, he doesn't. I would be open to dating outside my religion and learning about new religions and trying them. That's something I've always wanted to do.
She also added, by the way, that her deal breaker would be if he will not be in her social media videos. So, I mean, I guess she's saying, like, this is going to be a business venture for us as a couple, as a family. So if the guy is unwilling to appear in her social videos, it's a deal breaker.
Interesting. All right, good for her to draw her boundaries up
Yes.
front. How are fans reacting?
So it's very fascinating because there are people who have said, I haven't watched The Bachelor or Bachelorette in a very long time. However, because they know her from their For You pages on TikTok. I mean, she has 8 million social media followers. So, you know, folks who might be fans from TikTok or from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, they're like, oh, I'm going to watch this season. However, there are people who are loyalists to the Bachelorette franchise who are now like, wait a minute, she's never been on the show. What about our favorite contestants from seasons past? So it's a little bit split. I will say her co-stars on Secret Lives of Mormon Wives are all very supportive online so far.
8
8 million.
Do we know what went into this decision?
So my theory is that we are entering an age where it is like the multiverse of reality television stars and influencers, right? We are used to shows like The Traitors, which just won an Emmy last year for Best Reality Competition Program, who are pulling reality stars from The Housewives, from Survivor, from Big Brother. And so this seems like a move that's headed in that direction, right? We know her from TikTok and we know her from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and now she's crossing over into another dimension of reality TV stardom. And it seems like it's a lucrative business model. People who, you know, are fans of these stars from one place will follow them to another place, and that seems like where we're headed for this.
And 2 of her castmates are going to be on Dancing with the Stars. It's going to be interesting to watch them competing on these shows, and in Taylor's case, you know, accepting competitors for her love, and then watching how it plays out behind the scenes on the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
And on TikTok. Simultaneously, yeah.
Very meta. Well,
Very
fans,
meta.
thank you, Fred.
Thanks, Diane.
And thank you for watching. I'm Diane Macedo. The news never stops, and neither do we. We have a lot more news right after the break. Stick around. President Trump is reacting to a Russian drone attack that sent Allied planes scrambling into Polish airspace. Officials say NATO allies helped shoot down at least 19 drones that entered Polish airspace. Now the president's posting on social media, quote, "What's with Russia violating Poland's airspace with drones?" Here we go. We have full team coverage with ABC senior White House correspondent Selena Wang, ABC senior Pentagon reporter Louis Martinez, and ABC's Patrick Reevell. Selena, the president's making this statement ahead of a meeting with the Polish president today. What are you watching for there?
Well, Diane, first of all, it's unclear what the president meant by that social media post. The White House is not providing any further detail. What we do know is the White House saying that the president is tracking those reports out of Poland today and that he also has plans to speak with the country's president. We don't know the timing on that just quite yet. And it was just 1 week ago, in fact, that Poland's president was here at the White House. He had a bilateral meeting with President Trump, during which Trump had pledged to continue support for Poland and signaled that he's open to increasing America's troop presence in Poland. But look, all of this comes as the president's credibility is on the line here. There were some harsh words from the foreign minister of Poland saying the following, quote, "Putin laughs at President Trump's peace efforts. Since Alaska, he has only intensified the war. I hope that he backs his words with action." Now, the foreign minister there referring to President Trump's summit with Putin in Alaska last month, which President Trump had billed as this summit for peace. But since then, Putin has only escalated the attacks on Ukraine, with the foreign minister of Ukraine saying that what Putin is doing here is testing the limits, testing how far he can go. Ukraine's Zelensky telling our Martha Raddatz just days ago that Trump gave Putin what he wanted with that summit. And when it comes to this call that's coming up today with Poland's president, the president of Poland actually is not charged with foreign policy. That is in the domain of the prime minister of Poland. We had reached out to the White House to see if there are any plans for the president to speak to the prime minister. We have not heard any response. But amid all of this, the big question is, what does the president do next? There has been this bipartisan support for a tough sanctions bill. Is the president going to finally move on it?
Louis, how far are we from the potential for U.S. military involvement here?
Well, Dan, we should note that what happened last night was a historic act. These weren't the first time ever that NATO aircraft were engaged in any kind of shoot down over one of its member countries, notably Poland. But what we are talking about are 10,000 American troops that are based in Poland. But it is a collective defense alliance. That's what NATO is. The United States obviously is a member of NATO. And so no one's talking right now about any kind of U.S. military response, U.S. military action. That is never qualified, which is in collective self-defense. If one nation is attacked and they all join in response, this Article 4 is more about consultations. So at some point in the future here, all of the NATO countries are going to gather in Brussels and they are going to discuss potential options of how to respond. And Article 4 is only called when the member nations feels like it's under threat. But again, what we saw last night has never happened before. The first time that we've seen NATO military aircraft, particularly Polish F-16s and Dutch F-35s, shooting down drones and even some missiles, thanks to a German Patriot air defense battery. So a lot of activity last night. There were at least 19 incursions that we're aware of. Obviously very significant and really, really tough language coming from the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, who said that the actions were from Russia were absolutely reckless and absolutely dangerous. So obviously a lot of attention being paid to what the next steps will be. But what we're seeing from the Russians is more of a downplaying of what happened and just calling what's happening in the West or with the Western response as kind of an exaggeration.
Patrick, on the investigation into the attack?
Yeah, Diane, we've just heard in the last little while from a spokesperson for Poland's government saying that they've now found the remains of at least 12 drones in 10 locations across Poland. As you say, and as Louis was saying, Poland's government has said about 19 possible violations were noted last night. They say that NATO aircraft managed to shoot down around 3 drones. So far, we don't yet know much about the type of drones that were involved. We've seen some images of them lying on the ground, and they appear to be what's called a Gobera type of drone, which is most commonly used by Russia and Ukraine as a type of decoy. It's a cheap model that is used to basically trick air defenses into believing they're seeing a much more dangerous type of drone, the Shahed drone, which carries a powerful warhead. We don't yet know whether these drones were carrying any explosives or not. We do know that they caused some damage. At least one home in eastern Poland was damaged when fragments of a drone kind of fell on it. I think clearly, the question is, why has Russia done this? I think the answer is that it was intended as a message. I don't think people believe that it was a deliberate attack trying to cause significant damage, but what instead it very much was an attempt to test NATO, to test Poland, and to also intimidate European NATO countries, and to say,
Yeah, I got that job like a month ago. has been violated. Baltic airspace has been violated. So this could move towards, this could see towards increased presence of more sophisticated NATO air defenses in these frontline states.
What does this mean for the U.S. as we try to conduct peace talks between Ukraine and Russia?
Well, it should be a reminder to the White House that in the last 6 months, we've seen historically high rates of Russian air attacks on Ukraine. And the potential that those air attacks spill over into NATO territory itself, it should be of concern to the White House. And it should also be a signal to the White House that Russia has no intent at this point to enter into serious negotiations to see a reduction of the violence in Ukraine. In fact, it's been just the opposite. Despite diplomatic outreach by the White House, Putin has responded with historically high rates of air attacks on Ukraine, and now a violation of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of a NATO ally itself. So these are very strong signals coming out of the Kremlin.
All right, Ambassador Doug Liu, we appreciate your time today. As always, thank you. The Israeli military says it has struck Houthi military targets in Yemen just a day after targeting Hamas leaders in Qatar. The IDF says the new attack is in response to Houthis firing drones and missiles into Israel over the last 2 years. Meanwhile, sources tell ABC News Israel believes its strike in Qatar soil may not have been as successful as hoped. Let's bring in Moshe Lavi. His brother-in-law, Omri Miran, is being held by Hamas in Gaza. Omri, thank you for coming on. I know your brother was kidnapped right in front of his wife and his 2 young children on October 7th. I'm so sorry that you and your family are still going through this.
Thank you for having me. And yes, today is day 705 since Omri was kidnapped. Yesterday, my sister marked her wedding anniversary with Omri. But sadly, they can't celebrate it together because Omri is still held captive by Hamas.
How did you find out about these strikes on Hamas in Doha, and what was your reaction when you did?
Like the rest of the families and the wider public, we learned of the strikes from the media, from the official announcement by the IDF spokesperson. We were contacted later on by the relevant body within the government and the IDF that communicates with us what are the implications of certain developments. But that's how we learned of it. It was clearly difficult to witness what had happened because only a day before we learned of President Trump's new proposal, we understood that there's going to be negotiations on that proposal. And what we saw yesterday was a strike on Hamas negotiating team. I'm not shedding any tears for Hamas and their leadership. They're arch terrorists and they are not negotiating in good faith. But my concern is my brother-in-law and the rest of the 48 hostages. I want to see them all home, and the way to bring them home is a deal.
Many hoped negotiators were getting closer to a ceasefire deal. Have you or any other hostage families heard from Israeli officials since these strikes happened?
As I said, we were communicated by the officials in the Israeli government about the developments, but we were not we were not privy to any additional details. It's unclear to us whether this was detrimental to the negotiations. At least in the short term, it probably is, because I don't see how Hamas is returning to the table before receiving some sort of guarantees. And at the same time, Israel is continuing to prepare to expand its operation to Gaza City. We're very concerned. We understand that there has been a lot of shifts in the negotiating positions of all parties involved. What we call now, when there are families currently in Washington, D.C., I'll be joining them later on this week. What we're trying to tell American policymakers is there is a path for a deal here. And in order to ensure that path is being fulfilled, we need to pressure both Israel and Hamas through its sponsors and funders, Qatar, Turkey, and Iran. This this now is first to share our personal story, our family stories, and compel those decision makers to understand that human lives are involved, that human beings like Umri, who is a shiatsu therapist, a gardener, a father to 2 daughters, a love of sports, nature, and literature, should be a free man, is held by a terrorist organization, and the international community, including the US, have a role to play in order to ensure the hostages return home, including Umri. And as I said earlier, there's need to be pressure on both sides. The onus is on Hamas. There shouldn't be negotiations at all. The hostages should have been released unconditionally. But we're not living in a perfect world. And as a result, we have to negotiate with terrorists in order to ensure the freedom of our loved ones. And so the Israeli government needs to be pressured, and Hamas must be compelled to release all the hostages and disarm, and hopefully leave Gaza as well, because there's no future for Gaza with Hamas in power.
What do you know at this point about how Umri's doing and how's the family coping right now?
We don't know anything about Umri's whereabouts or his conditions. We assume from the videos of the other hostages which were released in the past few months, we assume that Umri is in a dire condition. We saw him last in a video that Hamas released. So a video in April 25. He didn't look well. And probably his situation only deteriorated ever since. But we're trying to stay strong, remain optimistic, mark those special days like the wedding anniversary of Umri and Lishai yesterday, and keep advocating. Our family is united behind my sister Lishai, behind Umri's father Dani, in order to ensure that they get the support they need and get the word out of what needs to happen. What needs to happen is a deal that will bring on all the hostages and the war, and ensure that Hamas does not return to power in Gaza.
We appreciate your time today. Good luck to you and your family, hoping for Umri's quick return home.
Thank you.
And parts of Florida are bracing for potentially dangerous flash flooding. Widespread heavy rainfall is forecast to hit some of the same areas already saturated from excessive rain. And parts of the west are still under dense smoke advisory from California wildfires. Meteorologist Ken Jawecki is tracking it all for us. Ken, where's the biggest threat today?
Really, it is going to be in that South Florida area, but of course we do still have some of those western issues as well. But let's start down in Florida, because the Miami International Airport has seen some of the heaviest rain in the last 3 days. They've seen over a half a foot of rain, about 6 inches and a quarter there, and they're going to see more rain over the next 3 days too, which is why we have this level 2 out of 4 threat for excessive rainfall in this yellow. It includes Fort Lauderdale, of course, and that's because they're going to see in the afternoon and evenings some heavy showers and thunderstorms. You can see it's not raining the entire time. This is a time lapse from today, tomorrow, and Friday, because it's again the next 3 days that this threat will continue because of continuous rounds of heavy rain. And some areas are expected to see a widespread 2 to 4 inches, but some places could see more than that, could see a 4 to 6 inch range, or even 6 to 8 inches as well. It just depends on where that heaviest rain actually ends up. So South Florida certainly still going to be seeing that flood threat for those urban areas with cars seeing a lot of water on the roads. And then in the west, we do have a flash flood watch, and that's actually in Oregon, where we've seen a lot of fires, and it's because of the fires. They have rain now, but they also have burn scars now as well that could lead to debris flows. So that's an issue there for central and eastern Oregon. Then we have these red flag warnings for Salt Lake City, parts of Nevada as well. That's because they have dry conditions, windy conditions, a lot of wind down in northern Arizona as well, including the Grand Canyon there. 45-mile-per-hour wind gusts possible. Then we still have that Garnet fire in California, east of Fresno, that's still giving dense smoke advisories and alerts there for parts of central California and into central Nevada as well. Meanwhile, it's the peak of hurricane season today when we talk about climatologically as well. And you can see that we don't have a lot going on. We have been very weak in our activity over the Atlantic. In the last 2 weeks, actually, there have been no named storms in the Atlantic leading up here to the peak of hurricane season. It's the first time that's happened in more than 3 decades. And you can see Kiko there over in the Pacific. It is now just a tropical depression. It's weakening, and it's just some big swells there in Hawaii from that day.
All right, Ken Jawecki, thank you. Coming up, we are hearing from Kamala Harris herself what her new book says about the days that led up to former President Biden dropping out of the race, and what she says about how Biden's staff treated her while in office. closer to answering one of humanity's biggest questions, whether we are alone in the universe. Officials say a sample found by the Perseverance rover on Mars shows potential signs of microscopic ancient life, and many other scientists agree.
A year ago, we found a sample, and it was, again, we're exploring in places where there were rivers and where there were lakes, and much as on Earth, we think that that's where we'd see signs of ancient life on Mars. We put it out to our scientific friends to pressure test it, to analyze it. They've come back and they said, listen, we can't find another explanation. So this very well could be the clearest sign of life that we've ever found on Mars.
NASA says the sample in question is the leopard-spotted rock, which could be made by some kind of ancient life. They say they don't yet know for sure, but they won't stop after this first analysis. They say the only way to know for sure is to return the sample to Earth for further study. Meanwhile, never-before-seen video appears to show a U.S. missile bouncing off a UFO. The footage released by a member of Congress appears to show a Hellfire missile hitting a mysterious orb, but then the missile appears to bounce off and the orb keeps going. Now the incident is raising new questions and concerns. ABC News Live weekend anchor Gio Benitez has more.
A striking new video taken in 2024 off the coast of Yemen. A U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drone tracking a glowing orb as it flies over the water. Watch as a different U.S. drone fires a Hellfire missile at the orb, but the missile appears to bounce off it. The orb seems to just fly away unfazed. It was shown at a congressional hearing Tuesday on unexplained anomalous phenomena. That's the official name for UFOs. Several service members there, lawmakers asking them to react to the video.
Are you aware of anything in the government, United States government arsenal that can split a Hellfire missile like this?
No.
Does this video scare you guys? Yes or no?
Yes.
Wiggins?
Yes.
Yes.
And we went to the Department of Defense asking for comment, and a spokesperson said this: I have nothing for you, and would not confirm if there was ever an incident off the coast of Yemen. Very interesting. As we said, unexplained, Diane.
All right, interesting stuff, Gio Benitez. Thank you. Former Vice President Kamala Harris now says it was reckless to allow President Biden alone to make the decision to run for re-election. It's the first time Harris has ever suggested Biden should not have run again. In a new book, Harris is also criticizing President Biden's team for limiting her role as vice president and fueling negative stories about her. Chief Washington correspondent John Carl is here with the details. Hi, John. So this is a big turnaround for Harris. How far is she going with this criticism of President Biden and his staff?
It's an incredible turnaround for Kamala Harris. You have to consider that during the whole episode after the debate, when Democrats were struggling with the issue of whether to abandon Joe Biden, Kamala Harris never suggested once, publicly or I am told privately, that Biden should go, that he should abandon his efforts to run for re-election. Here is what she is writing now. This is in the excerpt that was published this morning in The Atlantic. It's a quote from her. She says, it was Joe's decision to sit that in the times, though. Was it grace? Was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness. The stakes were simply too high. This wasn't a choice. It should have been left to an individual's ego, an individual's ambition. It should have been a personal decision. So that's what she's saying now. But again, she didn't suggest this at all while she was vice president and before Biden dropped out. In fact, Diane, I have learned in reporting for a book that I have coming out that even when Biden called her to tell her that he had decided not to run, to drop out of the race, she said, are you sure you know this is your decision and your decision alone? You can't be pushed out. Now she is saying exactly the opposite.
John, this is just the first excerpt from Harris's new book. What else are you watching for, and what do you think this could mean for the Democratic Party going forward?
Well, our Avery Harper has reported that, in fact, there was some debate within Harris's camp about which excerpt to put out. out first from the book that the book is primarily not about Joe Biden, that there's much else in this book. Now, the title is 107 Days. That, of course, is the length of the Harris presidential campaign. And I know that Harris has told people before this excerpt came out, she has told people privately that the problem that she had in her re-election campaign was that she ran out of time, that 107 days simply wasn't enough time to get a campaign really up and running and take the fight to Donald Trump. Actually, Diane, I think that a lot of Democrats look at her campaign and say that it wasn't so much a lack of time, that in some ways she may have had too much time. You know, Harris was at her peak in the polls shortly after she became the nominee, shortly after the Democratic convention, and after the debate in early September on ABC News. She started to go down as they approached November. She had an amazing boost of enthusiasm when she replaced Joe Biden, but she was unable to maintain that enthusiasm.
All right, Chief Washington correspondent John Carl. John, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up, hundreds of protesters arrested on the streets of France. Why demonstrators are outraged and why police were forced to use tear gas.
All Uber drivers pass a background check before their first ride and are rescreened every year. So no matter where you're going, you can travel with added peace of mind every time you ride. That's safety simplified. Uber.
High-quality tools you need at the prices you deserve. Shop and save at your new Harbor Freight.
Well, big boxes. More food, more flavor. Only at Del Taco.
Looking for you. When you call my name, and when I see your
Welcome back to ABC News Live. First, here are some of the top headlines we're following right now. The Interior Minister of France says 250 protesters are under arrest after clashing with police. The so-called Block Everything protesters are blocking roads and setting fires in Paris and throughout the country over turmoil in the French government. Authorities say 80,000 police officers have been deployed to keep order, many using tear gas. The unrest comes just a day after President Emmanuel Macron appointed France's fourth prime minister in a year. The new Swedish Minister of Health is speaking out about why she collapsed during her first press conference on the job. Video shows her slump and then fall forward over a podium. People in the room helped her up and took her out of the room. Now she says she's okay, and she's blaming the fall on a drop in blood sugar. And Elon Musk no longer holds the title of world's richest person. Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison surged to #1 after Oracle's strong earnings report Tuesday evening. Bloomberg reports Ellison's wealth jumped by $100 billion to $393 billion, surpassing Musk's net worth of $385 billion. Oracle reported surging demand for its data center capacity from AI customers, surging the stock price. Shares are 40% higher as of 11 a.m. Eastern today. Bloomberg says Ellison's leap in wealth is the biggest one-day increase ever recorded by the index. The Bloomberg Billionaires Index will update following the market close today. And the Girl Scouts are announcing a new cookie. The organization says the new flavor is inspired by Rocky Road ice cream. The new Explore More's cookie will feature chocolate, marshmallow, and toasted almond-flavored cream. The new cookie will be available in January. I'm Diane Macedo. The news never stops, and neither do we. We have a lot more news right after the break. Stay with us.
Crypto, stocks, ETFs, and options, all in one intuitive platform. Download eToro today.
I feel like new sunglasses, like a brand new pair of jeans. I feel like taking chances. I feel like brand new.
lots of bumps